A review key of Alwa's Awakening was provided by developer Elden Pixels. Alwa's Awakening has a really rough start. Slow movement speed, floaty jump physics, non-threatening enemies, and an attack that is best described as anemic. I was ready to write this game off immediately, but after giving it a chance for a few hours, it's not half bad. It's just barely half good, but it is an alright game for the most part, and I'll give it a pass. The game begins with a very elongated cutscene laying out the story. The evil Vicar has taken over the country of Alwa, and our heroine, Zoe, is summoned from another world to defeat the 4 protectors before facing off with Vicar himself. Once the gameplay begins, there's still more reading to get through, and this is going to be a theme for a lot of the early game. Characters often tell Zoe precisely where to go and what to do. When you have found the staff, quickly make your way back to town. Really, I probably could have figured that out on my own. This game will not let you go very far without first making sure that you don't get lost along the way. Beyond this door, you will find the Amber Salem, the first step on your journey. In there, you will find a green gemstone. Give me a break, I think I'm okay with discovering some of these things on my own. I'm getting flashbacks of Siren Blood Curse over here. Little by little, the game does start to let the reins loose, but that doesn't change the slow walking speed, pathetic enemies, and most of the other things about the gameplay. There's no double jump, no sprint, no slide, or anything particularly fun about the game's movement options. It's extremely basic and very boring. Almost all of the enemies do nothing but pace back and forth as they await for an easy death. You finally get your first magic spell to spice up the gameplay a little, and it allows you to conjure a block. Not the most exciting thing, and neither is the following one, a bubble that you can ride. This game takes a while to get going, but eventually the puzzles and platforming challenges actually start to turn out a little bit interesting. Some of the later enemies hurl projectiles or fly through the air and offer a slightly greater challenge when you're navigating treacherous obstacles. It is very easy to die, but it's not necessarily a difficult game. There are plenty of save points scattered around, so making your way through a dungeon usually isn't so bad, and careful observations will save you from most of the death traps. Most of all, however, it's the design principles that really impress me. A lot of the game's puzzles are built around teaching the player through gameplay. Oftentimes, the player is locked in a room with no means of escape aside from using their latest acquired spell. One of my favorite moments was seeing an enemy trigger a statue by firing a lightning bolt at it. I've seen these statues throughout this dungeon, but I couldn't figure out what they were for and decided that they were merely decorations. However, as soon as I unlock the lightning bolt spell, the game sets me up in a situation where the statue is activated via an enemy's lightning bolt. It's a natural aha moment, and a very intelligent design on the part of the developers. As for why the game insists on directly spelling out other things is a complete mystery to me. The map layout is also well designed, with many areas circling around to each other to create shortcuts and alternate paths in the environment. Later spells and upgrades also feel like shortcuts in and of themselves, allowing the player to skip old paths and speed up their progress through previous areas. There are a ton of secrets abound too, some of which are just off screen, but most are hidden behind false walls. In a similar move to Ocarina of Time, the controller vibrates when the player approaches a false wall, a hint that something is nearby, but without outright giving away the answer. As a Metroidvania-style game, the foundation is solid, and truth be told, after I had completed the game, I felt compelled to go back in and look around a little bit for any other secrets that I might have missed. I was pleasantly surprised to stumble upon a new optional dungeon that's hidden in a far-off corner of the map. But hey, let's not forget the flaws here. This is a super basic game, and I don't care that it's imitating the NES aesthetic. That's not an excuse for how slow, boring, and very easy it is to get through. Even the first half of the game's bosses are so pathetic. I understand wanting to ease players into the game, but this is kind of ridiculous. However, using your magic spells to navigate the environment is pretty cool, and this game does handle exploration very well, thanks to an easy-to-read map. There's even some sequence breaking involved. For example, if you can get through some of the game's dungeons without using up all of your keys, you can then use those keys to skip certain areas of the game's finale, which is a really cool feature. You don't even have to battle most of the bosses right away. Once you've acquired the next spell, you can usually move right on to the next dungeon immediately, which is really cool for speedrunners to figure out a path that works for them, especially since so much of the map circles back around to itself. And I didn't bring this up for the whole review, but the graphics and music are pretty great. Nothing really special, but I will give them props for capturing the NES style, and the chiptune soundtrack is pretty good stuff. But I am a sucker for that kind of thing, so I'm probably biased here. Alwa's Awakening isn't a great game. The combat is lame, and the game in general is pretty slow. However, it is clear that the development team actually put care and effort into this, and that shows in the later hours. If you're really big into exploration, then you're likely going to get more traction out of this than I would. Even though I did explore a little extra after I had beaten the game, it wasn't really enough to grab me in the long term. As a first effort from a new team, I give them my respect. They clearly did their homework on how to lay out a cohesive world. And for $10, I think it's an okay price for what you're getting here. Hopefully their next game turns out to be better. Thanks for watching.